me take you through the sketchbook. I'll show you what I did, what materials I used, and maybe give you some ideas either for using a triangular sketchbook or for when you next want to do some travel sketches. Hello, my name's Liz Chaderton. I'm a watercolour artist based in Berkshire. Every week I share a tip, trick or technique I wish I'd known about ages ago. And this week I wanted to share with you my triangular sketchbook. I shared a tutorial a couple of weeks ago about how I actually made it and why I wanted to give it a go. And then we went on a holiday to Dorset for a week and I have managed to fill it up. So this week, it is quite like grappling an octopus, but this week I wanted to show you the sketches, what I did, what I used in it, whether I found that triangular format fun and enlightening or a little bit frustrating, whether the design actually held up or fell to pieces. And by the fact that it's there, you know it held up. We've just had a week down in Portland in Dorset. If you don't know Portland, it is an island but just joined by a really narrow causeway. So really interesting place. Used to have loads of quarrying going on there. Still quite a lot of quarries. That's Portland stone. I think the UN building in New York is made of Portland stone, and so is Buckingham Palace. You know, it's posh stone. Anyway, a lot of that is gone, and a lot of the fishing as well. So there's this whole mixture of old industrial heritage and then sort of modern day life side by side. And then there's people who've lived on Portland for generations and hardly left the island. And then there's all the new incomers with their massive yachts. It's an odd place, but really interesting. And of course, what it is super famous for is its lighthouse, Portland Bill. Let me take you through the sketchbook. I'll show you what I did, what materials I used, and maybe give you some ideas either for using a triangular sketchbook or for when you next want to do some travel sketches. This first page, like this, just inside the front cover. Ooh, I need to find some more glue. It was just on our first day. It was actually my son's 22nd birthday. So we went to fish and chip shop opposite once we arrived and got some very nice fish and chips, and had fish and chips and a bottle of Prosecco to toast him. So I usually start my sketchbook with a simple sketch of some of my materials, and the reason I do that is if I don't start with something easy, sometimes I'm a little hesitant and it's like, oh, I don't want to spoil the sketchbook. And you suddenly find that you haven't used it. So by sketching your materials, even better, do it before you go. You check that you've got the right things with you, that you haven't forgotten anything crucial, but you break the back of the sketchbook. You've started it, it's something pretty straightforward, and now you can enjoy the rest of it. On this, because I was very taken with the name of the fish and chip shop, which was called Salty Towers. If you were British, you will immediately get the joke, but if you're from somewhere else, you'll think, why is that so funny? We had a very famous comedy programme called Fawlty Towers, set by the seaside, so Salty Towers is just fun there. And I cut up a bit of the menu and stuck it in rather badly, so let's just stick that down. I really wanted to see whether this triangular sketchbook made me see the world a little differently. So on this page, I have tried to follow the diagonals, or not tried to, it just seemed natural to do that. So I am very, very, very keen on lighthouses. And one of the reasons I wanted to go to Portland was to go to Portland Bill, which is a really famous lighthouse. I didn't realise there are actually 3 lighthouses there. There's Portland Bill, which is in use now. And then sort of up the hill here, there's the higher old lighthouse and the lower old lighthouse. So there are 3 within, I don't know, 400 metres of each other. So I was in lighthouse heaven. We climbed to the top of the lighthouse and we got a little lighthouse storybook. So I just cut that up and put it in there and did a very quick sketch. So all the sketches in here probably took certainly less than half an hour. I was with my husband and my youngest son, and it didn't seem very fair that if I spent ages sketching away and they were bored, so they all had to be super quick. The place that Portland is incredibly well known for is Chesil Beach. So the beach is down here, and I just sat and did a quick sketch of the Cove House Inn, a pub. It's right on the beachfront. Must be wonderful in the summer and rather windy in the winter. This was at the end of September, beginning of October, but we were really lucky with the weather. And we walked, I said that this place is famous for the Portland stone and for quarrying. And we walked from where we were staying down here. It was a very, very steep walk to Tout Quarry, which is an amazing place. It's been turned into a sculpture park, and artists both international like Anthony Gormley and local can come and sculpt with the leftover stone that's there. So this place is littered both with the old industrial and with carvings, and you discover them, and it's wonderful. But the Southwest Coast Path also goes round here. Oh, before I turn over, the triangular book gives you a lot of diagonals, obviously. I was interested because, say, in this rock face, there were lots of diagonals going down. So it made me really aware of those, which I enjoyed. But of course, say, over here on the sea bit, it didn't work as well. So it's quite a push-pull with this book. This was the only diamond-shaped picture I did. So I've done square ones, I've done it over two. I thought I'd do this as a diamond. We had the most amazing sunset one evening. The house we were staying in had a lovely balcony right on the top floor, and we could look across the sky. It was these colours, I'm not just sort of making it up. So it was pretty cold, but well worth just standing up there looking at the colours across. Then I went back to the square side of things, and this is Oak Cove, which is a lovely little cove that you have to walk down a lot of steps to, and there's a very old church that's sort of falling into the sea that has a grave with skull and crossbones on, so it's called the Pirates' Graveyard. These two pictures are sort of shows some of the history of Portland. It's a really interesting place. So we were down at the marina. Actually, this was a sort of an old dive boat that they were just cleaning off, so it was there. But there were mega super yachts. And then we also wandered around Castletown, which had a wonderful road called Drunkard's Row, because it used to have 7 pubs along it for all the sailors. Anyway, it was the centre of D-Day operations, loads of training, loads of soldiers, and there was a Jeep on display. So I actually managed to finish my book. In fact, I finished it early, so I turned it over and started working on the other side. Quite near Portland, so near Dorchester, so we're in Dorset, near Dorchester, is a big chalk figure. This is about, I think about 180 feet long, which, what would that be in yards? 60 yards, that's about 50 metres high, carved into the hill. The giant, some call him the rude giant, and if you look, you will realise why. I rather liked the way that this odd-shaped piece of paper made me think about painting this, or just sketching the giant. So I placed him on that diagonal, but I rather liked how this diagonal could take some of the sort of the fields off into the distance. This was the lower older lighthouse, which had been turned into a bird observatory. And we were lucky enough to go to a cider farm near Bridport, so Dorset nectar, and do a little tour of these orchards laden with fruit. And I would have loved to have sat there and sketched, but again, I couldn't because of who I was with. When we got back, obviously we had bought some of the cider. I just thought I'd do the logo because I thought it was a rather nice logo, just to remind me of that lovely tour. And Dorset Nectar is down Pineapple Lane. What a great address. And then my final sketch, I went down to the beach, to Chesil Beach, say very, very famous. It was quite blustery coming in, and I just wanted to make sure I'd done a painting of Chesil Beach. And in fact, this is the only one that I haven't put any pen on, so this is watercolour. Now this is on the back of the pages, and you can see where I had to join the pages to make the sketchbook. If you haven't seen how I've made it, please go to the link and see. Okay, is that ugly? Well, yeah, but it's also very truthful for this book. So even though it's got the join in the middle and these funny folds, I quite enjoy it because you've got the angles of the sea and the beach and the angles of the book, and it all kind of breaks it up and gives it sort of a geometry which I really rather like. Sadly, I didn't finish the entire back. It really sums up a lovely week away, and we were so lucky with, say, late sort of Indian summer. The book seems to have stood up pretty well. None of the folds have torn, which is a relief, but I thought you'd be interested because a few people asked me how hardy they thought it would be. I was concerned that my elastic that I'd done for the enclosure might pull out because it's just glued in between the cover and the back page. It hasn't done that at all. And I'm pretty pleased with how it stood up. I wish it had a pocket, and at the time I couldn't think of an easy way of doing a pocket because these really sharp points were quite tricky to cover, and I thought if I'd put a pocket on top that would be even more bulkier. So what I think I would do if I was doing it triangular, so it's got a flat base here, I would probably, before I stick the cover, just use a piece of paper, stick the bottom, fold that in, and have that sort of pocket. Whereas if I've done it triangular that way, I would probably again have a piece of paper that I would fold like that, stick the bottom, tuck it in so all the edges are covered. I do like a pocket because I collect, tickets and receipts and bits and bobs. I'm not sure I exploited the full potential of those diagonals. Yeah, maybe, because again, say on this one, we've got the diagonal, and I was very aware of like the diagonal marks in the clouds. They were really sort of very linear clouds, and it leads you down. I know the sea and the beaches here, so it did make me look for diagonals in life. And I did try triangles, single pages and double pages, so I think I gave it a fair shot. If you're interested in the materials that I took, you've already seen my trusty glue stick. Didn't do as much collage as I thought I would, but I always take my materials in one of these bags. It's a banana bag that you can get from the supermarket instead of using plastic, and ever so useful. It is filthy. I should wash it, but I'm not going to. I took this Paul Rubens set for no other reason than I adore, let me show you this colour. This purple lake is just the most beautiful colour. I did actually use it in the sea on one of those paintings, and that's why I like this set. Possibly a bit heavy. I could have certainly got away with a far smaller box. Take a set of Tombos. Not Tombos, they're from W.H. Smith's. And they are Tombow equivalents. So if you don't know what these are, it's a grey set, and we've got a brush pen. Let me put it against my hand. One end, bullet nib the other. They are water soluble and very transparent. So let me just show you. I use them on this one. So say you want to put shadows in. So this was a sort of wall, and then this went down to the town, so it was part of the sea defences. So you want to put shadows in, lights coming from here. This grey is really, say, very, very transparent, but it's a super quick way of just putting in a bit of tone without adding any water to your painting or your sketch. which if you're outside in cool weather, you know, October in England, things do not dry quickly, as you well know. It's a way of being able to add tone and shading without getting anything too soggy. I didn't use them that much. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I took a selection of fine liners. These are waterproof fine liners, and I needn't have taken quite so many because in the end I only used the 0.2. It just felt to be the right width for this size of paper. And I just like these fine liners because you can sit and say on this, it's pretty much a continuous line. You know, these sort of different rocks, you can sit and do a very quick sketch. I start with the pen, then put on the watercolour. But if those, not impatient, they are very patient with me, but if my companions are getting a little restless, I could do the ink sketch and then just add the colour when I'm at home. Once it's dry, just as I'm doing now, if I thought, oh, I want to add a few more rocks down on the beach, you know, all the rock slides there, I can always go over the top again. Frankly, if I'd taken that and a water brush, so again, if you don't know water brushes, or you can just fill up the barrel there. And then you've got different shaped brushes at the top. You squeeze here, water comes out, so you don't have to carry a separate pot. So that and that is really what I used. I thought I might need a clip if it was windy to stop this octopus expanding and running away with me, but I don't think I used that either. Oh, and of course I took a pair of scissors so I could do a bit of collage, but as it happened, I only did that on the first couple of pictures. So would I take a triangular sketchbook again? Yeah, I reckon I would actually. I really like it. It's just so tactile. And so versatile. You can do panoramic sketches. You can do, odd shape sketches. You can do squares. You could do triangles. It's really, really versatile. So I thoroughly enjoyed using that, and it did make me see the diagonals in the world, and something that helps you see the world with fresh eyes is no bad thing.